And hey, do buckaroos, I'm back with my well, the second way to drink this. Traditionally these white whiskeys were drank straight up, right out the jug. Some even like them. We'll just do straight shots. Uh, for me, I've always preferred a whiskey like this chill. You can do shots if you like. I'm not a guy that enjoys shots, but the truth is that these spirits are very versatile in cocktails as well. You can use them in place of other things. I've used them to make a version of a white Manhattan, if you will. And in here, I'm using it in place of gin or vodka, making a dirty martini. What I've got here is a little over an ounce of the Rocktown with about a quarter ounce of some olive juice, a couple Mazzetta martini olives. I'm not using any vermouth. The olives are soaked in vermouth, so I figured that was enough. I do have this rather chilled. It isn't shaken, and it's very mellow. Yeah, no, does it taste like a vodka or a gin dirty martini? No, but it works. The white whiskey does absorb the flavors of the olive juice in much the same way that a vodka martini would. Of course, and if you're using gin, you do get that juniper coming through. And here, using the white whiskey in place of the vodka, well, I'm getting flavors of the whiskey combining with the olive juice, whereas the vodka, you're tasting mostly the olive juice. But I may look in my fridge to see what else I have. I'd like to try this doing some other cocktails. I don't want to drink too much of this. Uh, well, because it is 110 proof, my friends. But yeah, I get sometimes I guess I get a little obsessive at times once I start doing something. Now I want to experiment with cocktails with this thing. Don't have any lemons handy, or I'd probably do a version of a whiskey sour, do a white whiskey sour, but I don't have any lemons handy. Mm. Oh yeah, that makes a nice drink right there. It really does. Again, you do taste some of the flavors of that white whiskey, kind of setting it apart from a vodka martini. Um, and it's quite different from a gin martini because you don't have those flavors of juniper, but you do get those flavors of the whiskey coming through, kind of mixing and melding and having a good time with the olive juice and everything else going on. Mm. I hadn't tried this before. Back way back 2014 when we visited Little Rock, um, back in September of 2014. I bought the rye, the bourbon, the regular bourbon, the rye, the bourbon, and the Arkansas smoked. All three were great products. A couple months ago, when we traveled up into Harrison, I was able to find their cask strength bourbon, which was crazy good, along with their vodka, which isn't bad. It's a six times distilled vodka. It was only $11 a bottle, and it's probably the best $11 bottle of vodka I've ever had. But this is the first time I've come across this. I hadn't been able to find the Arkansas Lightning yet, and so I was glad I was able to come across it during a day trip to Rogers, Arkansas, is where I found it. That neck of the wood is really getting a lot of great breweries. Of course, I'm having some whiskey here, but yeah, it's funny. You don't For a long time, Missouri wasn't thought of a great brewery town, and because of St. Louis, we've got plenty. Of Kansas City area's got plenty, but even Springfield and the area is getting more and more all the time. We've even got a little distillery here in town, Missouri Spirits. So I'm glad to see these little guys popping up, especially with characters like a Jim Beam selling out to Suntory. Listen, there's not necessarily inherently wrong with supporting those big guys. If they make whiskey alike, buy them. I'm not saying you can. I'm not boycotting anybody for gosh sakes. But whenever I can, I do buy the craft brewery. I try to stay away from the big conglomerates. Not all of them are inherently evil, but some of them do have some questionable business practices. Some of them do try to crush the little guys. I guess that's just the nature of the beast. So whenever I can, I love when I can support a little distillery like Rocktown because they're making just some fine products. So if you ever have to be traveling through the Ozarks region or central Arkansas, if you're into Little Rock, uh, if you actually go to Little Rock, you can visit the distillery, but their products are sold outside of Little Rock. If you're going through Central Arkansas, if you're going through the Ozarks region, you might be able to find. Unfortunately, here in Springfield, excuse me, unfortunately in Springfield, the only products I can get from them are the flavored moonshines, the apple pie, blah blah blah. That stuff just doesn't do it for me. So I've got to travel into Arkansas to get the good stuff, and this is the good stuff in my opinion. Like I said, when I was just doing the plane or the plane, when I was just having this on the rocks, I admittedly don't have the experience drinking this type of whiskey as much as I do the bourbon or Irish, but I gotta tell you, I really enjoy this one a lot. Everything this distillery does is fantastic. So there you go. I'm gonna enjoy the rest of our martini. This time, a beer whisperer. We'll talk to you later.